Dear members of the International Science Council, dear guests and colleagues, thank you, Christophe, for the beautiful and uplifting piece of music to celebrate the ISC Awards. It's my great pleasure and honor to open the first ever awards ceremony of the Council. The ISC vision is of science as a global public good. The ISC is committed to support of the development of all science, from discovery to application and including the full range of disciplines, from the natural to technological to behavioral, social, and data sciences. Today, the ISC celebrates scientific achievements by individuals and groups of individuals whom we are recognizing for being innovators in international interdisciplinary scientific research, science education, and outreach, for bringing scientific knowledge into the public domain and for promoting the free and response practice of science. The ISC Governing Board established the award program in 2020 with 5 award categories: science for sustainability, science for policy, policy for science, scientific freedom and responsibility, and early career scientist awards, including 1 award for each of 6 world regions. As a response to the call of nominations, the Council received more than 100 nominations for the award. My sincere thanks go to the ISC members and the partners who prepared and submitted nominations. The ISC Award Selection Committee, that comprised of distinguished scientists and science policy experts, worked intensively to select best candidates for each award and to recommend them for the awards to the ISC Governing Board. I am very grateful to the members of the committee for their excellent contribution to the awards program. Finally, my congratulations go to the first ISC awardees for their outstanding achievement in science and promoting science as a global public good. Oh, well, now it is time to announce ISC Awards awardees. And please join me in welcoming our host, Christina Okello, an international journalist who covers global stories based in Paris, France. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. A warm welcome to this first ever International Science Council Award ceremony, recognizing the extraordinary contributions to science by some of the field's best innovators. And what a challenging time it's been for scientists. There seems to have been one disaster after another. First climate change, then COVID-19. But thanks to their efforts to develop treatments and vaccines, we can now more or less go back to normal. And who knows, maybe next year I may even get to see you in person as opposed to behind a screen. And hopefully by then too, we may even have serious action to tackle global warming. That would be good news with climate talks just around the corner. These are just some of the examples of what good science can do, and some of the things our awardees are already doing. How about we go and meet them, and hopefully they can help me brush up on my own science skills. Sadly, though, I think it will take another ceremony for that, but never mind. Before we go to our 2021 recipients, let's just recap why we're here. Today, we'll be announcing 10 prizes in the following categories: the Science for Sustainability Award, Science for Policy Award, Policy for Science Award, Scientific Freedom and Responsibility Award, and 6 Early Career Scientist Awards. Now, to get here, they had to beat off stiff competition. Nothing difficult for our first laureate. He's one of the foremost scientists in China, recognized for his work in radar remote sensing and big Earth data science. He's also come up with his very own Silk Road, nothing to do with investment in railways, but a digital version linking cross-cutting research themes with sustainable development. I'm talking about none other than Professor Huowao Dong Guao, who scoops up the Science for Sustainability Award. Professor Guao is one of the most recognized scientists in China and well known internationally as a member of the UN 10-member group to support the technology facilitation mechanism for sustainable development goals. He has actively contributed to and participated in international efforts towards sustainability, including playing a leading role in setting up the International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals. The platform his team has built aims to integrate big Earth data for SDG monitoring and prediction and will have a global impact. Let's hear now from Professor Guao, who is accepting the Science for Sustainability Award.
I'm Hua Dong Guo. It's a great honor to receive this prestigious award. I feel truly humble, and I'd like to thank my team, colleagues, family, and friends for their support. Science is crucial for sustainable development, so I have advanced big data and SDG science satellite due to launch next month. I have also pursued interdisciplinary science and data sharing applied to the SDGs, and founded the International Research Center of Big Data for Sustainable Development Goals. I hope that with this award, I will be able to motivate young people to incorporate data-driven approaches and help grow the next generation for innovation. To sustain our digitized society, capacities for science-based decision-making must be enhanced. To this end, ISC's role is essential. Thank you.
Professor Guao will receive, as will all our awardees, a stunning print by award-winning scientific photographer Carl Garth, who specializes in microscopy art, essentially art under a microscope. Dr. Guao's award is a fine art print entitled Yellow Lichen, a spontaneous emergence of order out of chaos. Just think of Nietzsche's Zarathustra novel, where he says you need chaos to give birth to a dancing star. In this case, the chaos is a crystalline formation that appears out of a chemical soup, photographed using a microscope. Well, if you didn't quite get that, join the club. Carl's work is rather peculiar, but it's nothing short of beautiful. He fuses art and science through methods of advanced microscopy. To explore his work further, just visit council.science/awards. Finally, our awardees will receive a framed certificate from the ISC. Coming up next, we look at the first of our 6 Early Career Science Awards, and this next laureate is also a big data specialist. Her vision is to make the scholarly communications ecosystem more inclusive. In 2012, Dr. Ariana Becerril-Garcia co-founded a platform that allows people in Latin America, the Caribbean, Spain, and Portugal open access to journals. The network, called Redilic, gives visibility to journals published in Ibero-American countries, thus making them more accessible to a large audience. Dr. Becerril-Garcia has used the web and open data to ensure that collections of ancestral and indigenous knowledge, epidemics, and COVID-19 have been accessible in Latin American languages. Let's hear now from Becerril-Garcia, who is accepting the Early Career Science Award for Latin America and the Caribbean.
It is a huge honor for me to be the recipient of the 2021 ISC Early Career Scientist Award for South America and the Caribbean. I feel so privileged not only for this very special award, but for the fact that the recognition comes from the International Science Council, whose vision is to advance science as a global public good, which is exactly the driving force of my entire scientific work. I have been committed to research and innovation for the strengthening of non-commercial open access publishing and the democratization of scientific knowledge, essential conditions to tackle emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic. The developments encompass artificial intelligence and semantic technologies to enable scientific information to be connected into an upper tier of science as a global public good that could both provide a universal benefit and accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. I am very fortunate to be at the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico in Redilic, accompanied by a very talented mentor and colleagues. I also feel very lucky to have been able to share the pathway with organizations such as Claxo, Amelica, and UNESCO. This award will be a reminder that we are many minds and wheels, sharing values and visions, and it will inspire me to work even harder. I truly believe that a disruptive innovation can be reached to achieve equity, multilingualism, and epistemic justice in knowledge generation and communication for the common good. Thank you very much.
She will receive a print of a crystalline chemical cocktail of metal salts, photographed under a microscope, of course, that resembles the top part of a tree where the main trunk breaks up into branches that diverge out into a crown. Continuing with our early career awards, our next recipient has had to get around a weak infrastructure and lack of funding in Egypt to carry out her research, but that didn't stop Dr. Shima Enani from becoming the first Arab scientist to study microbial proteomics, essentially the study of microbes and proteins. And it's proven very useful during the fight against COVID-19 in Africa, because her research has helped to reveal the microbes that spread in the community, thus helping to develop an effective vaccine. No doubt that the World Health Organization would be very interested in Dr. Enani's work, given the shortfall of vaccines for Africa. And it's no wonder that the associate professor from Suez Canal University has taken on a leading role in tackling COVID-19 on the continent. She's done so with the Next Einstein Forum and the COVID-19 Clinical Research Coalition. So without further ado, please join me in congratulating Dr. Enani, who takes home the Early Science Award for the Africa region.
Hello, everyone. I would like to deeply thank the International Science Council for selecting me to receive this year's award for the Early Career Scientist in Africa. About my work, actually, I am a microbiologist working mainly on bacteria using different omics techniques like genomics, metagenomics, proteomics, and metaproteomics, trying to elucidate bacterial molecular functions through the identification of virulence factors, antimicrobial resistance determinants, proteins, and others. Receiving the International Science Council Award in this time in my life is very encouraging for me, and it is considered as a gift that crowned my scientific journey. I hope that people in society all over the world realize the importance and the demand of science for saving life. Also hope that scientists community put their goals to let science serving the society and solving the community's problem. Thank you.
Now, we've all heard of the World Wide Web, but did you know that there was a Wood Wide Web? The Carl Garth Print awarded to Dr. Anani brings to mind the mycelium matrix of fungi that forms the basis of the Wood Wide Web, connecting all plants and trees of a community into a giant interconnected network. The Wood Wide Web not only serves for communication between plants and trees, but also allows for the transport and distribution of essential nutrients among them. Now, this next laureate has co-founded several important institutions and Pan-African programs, including the African Light Source Initiative, which aims to build a facility to help researchers tackle some of the continent's biggest issues, such as Ebola. Indeed, Dr. Sikatsi Mitawinga, because that's who we're talking about, has sought to show how advanced light sources can revolutionize scientific research. Dr. Mitawinga has also promoted research and education in minority-serving institutions and has spent decades shoring up ties between physicists in Africa and the United States. Congratulations, Dr. Mitawinga, this year's winner of the Policy for Science Award.
To the ISC President, Daya Reddy, to the Governing Board and the entire General Assembly, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this prestigious award. It's a culmination of a long journey over the last 3 decades of my involvement in developing countries. I'd like to thank my wife, Estella, and 2 daughters, Makazi and Sharifa, for their many years of support throughout all of my travels and intense work. I'd like to thank at MIT Chancellor Phil Clay for connecting me with resources to do this work. I'd like to thank my involvement and collaborations with Philemon Jawaha, the Director General of Science, Engineering, and Innovation for South Africa, and Simon Cornell at the University of Johannesburg. I'd like to thank Michelle Spiro and Bruce McKellar, the current and past president of IUPAP, for their support and encouragement during my involvement with the C13 Commission on Physics for Development. I'd like to thank James Burakane for the great partnerships and collaborations over the years. I'd like to thank the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine President, Marcia McNutt, and her colleagues, Ana Ferreras, Chris O'Brien, and others for their many years of support. And I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues, Shirley McKendall, Noel Blackburn at Brookhaven, and Eric Shepard at the National Science Foundation for their support. Despite all the turmoil in the world, I'm extremely optimistic, and the ISC Award will push me to do many more things in the future. And for that, I am most appreciative. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mitawinga receives this print titled Exquisite Flower by Carl Garth. A chemical flower spontaneously unfolds from a central nucleation point, the starting point of a crystal, during crystallization. This chemical flower was made from a mixture of health supplement powders mixed in a solvent and then recrystallized. And no, it's not for eating, but can be admired without moderation. Now, our next recipient is a man who doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. He loves soil, so much so that he even got the UN to create a World Soil Day. That's right, there's one every year on the 5th of December, and that's all thanks to Professor Winfried Bloom. This prolific academic has got us all talking about soil, it seems. He served as Secretary General of the International Union for Soil Science for 12 years and has organized dozens of conferences with a global impact. As chairman of the Committee of Experts for Soil Protection at the Council of Europe in the early 90s, Professor Bloom developed a new definition of soil functions to improve understanding by politicians, administrators, land users, and the broad public. Professor Bloom has not only sowed the seeds for policymakers and their understanding of soil science, but he is sowing the seeds for future generations across the globe by initiating a master's level course in natural resources management and ecological engineering that spans from Vienna, Austria to Lincoln in New Zealand. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Bloom, the winner of this year's Science for Policy Award.
Distinguished audience, I thank the International Science Council for conferring to me the Science for Policy Award 2021, thus recognizing not only my scientific achievements, but also the importance of my field of science, the soil as the basis of life. This award is the highlight of my professional career as a forest engineer and natural scientist. It also confirms my way in developing new concepts through the combination and application of different kinds of knowledge. In the future, science can support and promote the sustainable development of human societies if it is able to explain in an understandable way the complex interdependencies between nature and the social, economical, and technical impacts of human activities to the broad public and to politics.
Professor Bloom will receive the print titled Rays of Dawn, named for its early morning hues casting down on a cornfield. An apt choice for a soil advocate, wouldn't you say? And if you look closely, you might even see faint stars in the sky. Very poetic. This image was made from a mixture of medicinal medications and health supplements photographed under a microscope. Continuing with the theme of the environment, our next recipient is one of the leading voices on climate change and health in Canada. Dr. Shirley Harper's award-winning research has brought Indigenous people's voices, experiences, and priorities into international decision-making about climate change. Dr. Harper has been actively engaged with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, being nominated to the IPCC's Gender Task Group by the Government of Canada, and is a lead author for 2 IPCC reports summarizing the health impacts of climate change. Dr. Harper has notably co-led a program that uses science and Indigenous knowledge to strengthen health systems in response to our climate crisis. In addition to her work with the IPCC, Dr. Harper has also advised the United Nations and the World Health Organization. Simply put, our Early Career Scientist awardee for North America is an outstanding scholar and international leader in climate change and health. Congratulations, Dr. Harper, for your award.
I wanted to express my heartfelt thanks to the International Science Council for this award. I'm so honored and really humbled to have been selected for the Early Career Scientist Award in North America. As a climate change and health researcher, to me, this award really recognizes the important role of research and researchers in addressing climate change, and also the power and significance of meaningful community partnerships in research. It highlights the importance of bringing local voices, experiences, and priorities into international decision-making about climate change. Of course, climate change is a team science, so it's not just my sole effort that's brought me here today. So I wanted to thank my generous, honest, and really steadfast mentors in both academia, but also within the communities that I serve. And I especially wanted to thank those mentors who nominated me and provided me letters of support. I'm so incredibly thankful to all of my colleagues, community partners, and students who inspire me, guide me, and motivate me every day. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown that climate change can be a threat multiplier in the health system. Over the last year, we've all seen the health impacts of the record-breaking heat waves, droughts, and floods that intersect with the challenge of COVID-19. But I believe that together, through team science and meaningful community partnerships, research is up to the task of responding to the global calls for emergency action on limiting climate change and supporting public health.
Dr. Harper will receive a fine art print of salicin, an anti-inflammatory medication, which was photographed using polarized light microscopy. Essentially, it was lit up by a microscope. And this formation brings to mind a plant native to the semi-arid and tropical climates of Africa called sticks of fire. Who knew that anti-inflammatory medication could be so fascinating? Well, I hope you're enjoying as much as I am the interplay between art and science to produce such beautiful imagery. Let's turn our attention now to Asia, where another early career researcher has been taking the field of optoelectronics by storm. We're talking about everything from solar cells to LEDs. Dr. Ditya Sadanala from the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore has developed one of the world's most sensitive absorption measurement techniques called photothermal deflection spectroscopy. This technique measures the rate of absorption in solids, liquids, and gases. Dr. Sadanala's research has notably helped rural communities in India make their wood-fired cook stoves more efficient. He's shown that flexible electronics can address some of the energy-related challenges facing remote communities. Please welcome Dr. Sadanala as he accepts the Early Career Science Award for Asia.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak here to this august audience. I would like to thank everyone who supported me directly or indirectly for reaching this stage in my career till date. My research is mainly focused around the energy theme, inspired by India's needs, but targeted at the global energy and climate challenges. This ISC award is a significant recognition to my team's efforts in this direction. I hope to move forward with renewed vigor and motivation in bridging the gap between the scientific community and the society. Moreover, I would also like to work on accelerating the transformation of the society for securing better conditions for our future generations. Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Sadanala receives a fine art print image showing 4 large crystals surrounded by an extremely thin crystalline film of vitamin C. The thin film was photographed under a microscope, which reveals the strikingly colorful patterns. Now from Asia to Australia and the Oceania region, where we meet our next early career awardee. She is a professor of the brain and mind and has unlocked one of the most feared neurodegenerative disorders in our society, dementia, an illness that was brought to the big screen this year in the movie The Father, where we saw actor Anthony Hopkins become a prisoner to his own mind. Dr. Moiran Irish also witnessed the devastating effects of dementia in her own family. But instead of being defeated, she came up with pioneering research to show how our imagination can help break down dementia. Her landmark 2012 study was the first worldwide to demonstrate that semantic brain networks support the capacity to envisage the future. And it's not just neuroscience that Professor Irish is being recognized for. She's also a fervent women's advocate and has promoted positive role models of women in science at the high school level through her Science in Schools program. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Irish of the University of Sydney, this year's Early Career Science Laureate for Australia and Oceania.
It is a great honour to receive this award from the International Science Council in recognition of the work that we've been doing at the University of Sydney. I'm really delighted that our research has been recognised in this way and immensely grateful for this opportunity. As a cognitive neuroscientist, I aim to solve some of the biggest mysteries of the human mind. How do we remember the past in exquisite detail? How do we project forwards in time to imagine the future? What brain networks underlie these complex capacities, and why are they so vulnerable to disruption in dementia? Over the last 10 years, I have been chipping away at trying to solve this puzzle, to understand how the brain shapes our past and our future. In doing so, I hope to provide new insights into the computations of the brain and to break new ground in the diagnosis and treatment of dementia. Thank you.
Professor Irish receives a print from Cargarth that resembles a ghost gum tree native to Australia. The image is made from a mixture of iron and potassium sulfates imaged in polarized light yields. Well, the future is also bright, or at least that's what our next laureate hopes. Dr. Jory Roglic has dedicated his whole career to highlighting pathways to a better future in which global warming is limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. With the COP26 climate conference just around the corner, his work couldn't have come at a better time. Roglic's work has helped inform global decision-making in climate policies, and he's a regular contributor to the annual UNEP emissions gap reports. Last year, he was in the top 1% of researchers most cited in the field of environment and ecology. And if you still don't understand what climate change is all about, you can always watch Roglic on YouTube, where he breaks down the burning issues into bite-sized chunks. It's precisely because of his commitment to making his research accessible to all that Dr. Roglic is picking up the Early Career Science Award for Europe. Congratulations to him.
Thank you very much. I'm extremely honored to receive this award from the International Science Council. In my research, I try to understand how we can connect what we know about our planet to policy. Ambitious climate change mitigation has been a key focus, for example, by showing in the years leading up to the Paris Agreement in 2015, how global warming can be limited to 1.5 degrees, and subsequently how this can be done in sustainable ways that promote societal resilience. I'm particularly honored to receive this award from the ISC because of its own groundbreaking climate science to policy work over many decades, which is a mission that remains important to date. Providing visions of how we can transition to a sustainable future and engaging with society so that people can imagine their futures as well makes me hopeful that indeed we are able, in this very decade, to put our world on track towards a safe, just, and climate-resilient future.
Dr. Roglic will receive seedlings by our artist Carl Garth. Here we can see the striking similarity between patterns found in plants and those found in crystals, to the extent that one could be fooled into thinking that this picture was indeed one of plants. It's not. It's in fact a crystalline film formed from a chemical cocktail consisting of various metal salts photographed under a microscope. Well, sadly, we're coming to the end of our award ceremony and its beautiful art. And what better way to conclude than with our penultimate prize, the Scientific Freedom and Responsibility Award. Without the ability to think, question, and share ideas, much of what we've discussed today would not have been possible. Protecting this right is exactly what Scholars at Risk has done over the past 2 decades. It's a network that protects scholars from conflict, persecution, and political unrest by arranging temporary research and teaching positions at partnering institutions, thus providing them with a sanctuary. Their work speaks to the very essence of what the International Science Council is all about: to promote the practice of responsible science and ensure that expertise is universally accessible and benefits all. The work of Scholars at Risk has lifelong benefit for individual scholars and their families, but also serves to preserve their skills for the benefit of a wider society. Thus, their work directly promotes science along with other academic disciplines as a global public good. So without further ado, let's hear from Rob Quinn as he accepts the award for Scientific Freedom and Responsibility.
Thank you to the entire ISC community for the honor of recognizing Scholars at Risk with your 2021 Scientific Freedom and Responsibility Award. Our mission at Scholars at Risk is to protect scholars who face threats to their work, their well-being, and even their lives. It's difficult, emotionally challenging work, and there's simply too much of it. Too many of our colleagues around the world are facing threats and need our help. It's also deeply rewarding work. We have the privilege of working on behalf of individuals who value truth and truth-seeking, scientific process, and the sharing of scientific discourse and results for the broad public good, despite the risks. We also had the great privilege of working with a community of institutions, associations, and individuals who are similarly dedicated to the values of higher education, so much so that they open their hearts, homes, and campuses to offer sanctuary to threatened colleagues. They deserve this award, and I accept it on their behalf. This award will help raise the visibility of our work so that perhaps more institutions and associations will get involved, and together we will help more scholars, scientists, and researchers at risk. As is so often stated, the 21st century is the knowledge century, and this means that we expect fantastic scientific discoveries and innovations. By protecting scholars and promoting academic freedom, we can make sure that these don't just benefit the well-off few, but rather serve the broadest public. We can help make sure that the knowledge century is also a humane, equitable, and just century. On behalf of Scholars at Risk, thank you for supporting us in this effort, and thank you for this award.
Scholars at Risk will receive a Carl Garth print made from a mixture of medicinal medications and health supplements photographed under a microscope. Reminiscent of yellow and blue sunlight shafts illuminating the leaves of plants, this image is one in a series that resembles summertime in the cornfields. That beautiful image wraps up our inaugural awards ceremony. Before we go, I'd like to invite Daya Reddy, ISC President, to say a few words on behalf of the governing board. Thank you for celebrating with us the achievements of all our winners. They've taught me a lot, and I hope you've learnt a thing or two. And I hope you will join us in advancing science as a global public good. Here's Daya.
So dear colleagues, as a global organization, we, the International Science Council, work to promote research on key global challenges, to increase evidence-informed decision-makings at all levels of public policy. We engage across a range of activities that are aimed at developing better policies for science and scientists. And of course, we strive to protect scientific freedom and promote the responsible practice of science. So there's a great deal going on at any time, and it really is appropriate that we recognize those scientists and organizations whose work and whose achievements in the context of science as a global public good are of the highest quality, and who in this way bring great credit to the scientific community. Today, we've had an opportunity to recognize such achievements, and it is truly cause for celebration as we hear of the successes of our inaugural group of awardees, including, I should say, an inspiring group of early career researchers, and pay tribute to and honor their exemplary achievements. May I then add my warmest congratulations to all of the awardees. Well done. You bring honor not only to yourselves, but to our entire community. I extend my very best wishes to you for your future endeavors. As a global organization, dear colleagues, we, the ISC, work to promote research on key global challenges to increase evidence-informed decision-making at all levels of public policy. We engage across a range of activities that are aimed at developing better policies for science. And of course, we strive to protect freedom, scientific freedom, and promote the responsible practice of science. So there's a lot going on at any given time, and it is appropriate that we recognize those scientists and organizations whose work, whose achievements in the context of science as a global public good are of the highest quality, and who in this way bring great credit to the scientific community. Today, we've had an opportunity to recognize such achievements, and it is truly cause for celebration as we hear of the successes of our inaugural group of awardees, including, I should say, an inspiring group of early career researchers. And so we pay tribute to and honor their exemplary achievements. May I then add my warmest congratulations to our awardees. Well done. You bring honor not only to yourselves, but to our entire community. I extend my very best wishes to you for your future endeavors. That concludes the formal proceedings for the day. We will now have some music, after which there will be once more an opportunity for networking. We'll have a further networking opportunity tomorrow at 12 noon. Central European summertime, after which we proceed with the formal agenda. Thank you very much all for your attendance and for your contributions today. Thanks.